And I know you don't agree with me, but it's a proof in the pudding.
I agree with you.
We should have an updated schedule of use page that reflects those ordinance changes, absolutely.
But why wasn't that done originally when you did this, to hand it over to somebody to write it
Because
in the
we're
correct?
not management, we're not.
You should have given it to the code enforcement officer, is what I'm saying.
The
She
code
is-
enforcement officer had, this was all,
We
this
did,
all
we
came up
did.
at meetings.
bottom
Everybody
line
got,
is-
you've got a copy of this somewhere.
But I'll be damned if I'm gonna be running through my briefcase going like this to figure out where it is.
No, and that's why I took and punched out my sheets, and I think, did you do the same thing, Bob? Punch your sheets out and insert it in your book?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
why,
think David
that's
might
why
have
it's
done
built
that.
that whole reference, so
Yeah.
that's good.
But-
Temporarily.
Yeah, just, that was a temporary thing.
Yeah.
I think again, this kind of falls back to just somebody
Okay,
like
we
a
gotta get back
delegation
on track because
of,
my temper
staff.
isn't going anywhere.
Like,
We need to get some
like
updates.
John.
We've
Bill
been
wants
through
to
that.
say something.
Yeah, it's difficult, it's not easy, it just takes time
I'm
to.
sorry.
I'm not quite sure. But
Oh, we're talking about the ADU.
What's Merle wanna say?
ordinance Stuff that happened last June, remember, that was approved, but never got into all the ADU
What is
ordinances.
ADU?
They came from the state.
What is-
Accessory development, yeah, accessory apartment stuff. Yeah. That's what it's all about.
Okay, well, that's probably at the heart of whatever issues are facing us, is what the state's gonna do
Yeah.
and how we're gonna adapt.
Our
But
conversation.
you mentioned something about people who are looking to speak to the politicians about it, right?
It doesn't need to follow protocol.
You mentioned that you knew some people who were gonna try to contact some of the politicians about the issue.
Yes, that's the regional group
Yeah.
that is having some actually.
And there's some other towns too, like Scarborough, for as an example, they are really pushing back because they're one of the council-style governments that have to have it enacted by July.
Yeah.
And they recognize that, if you
What happened?
work backwards a little bit, they only have a few months to really rush through some of these policy changes in relation to ADUs. So Scarborough has voiced their opinions. Wyndham is another community that is like very concerned about this really quick timeline for at least the council style. Now, thankfully, we have the benefit here where we're a town meeting style government, so we at least have a year. But I think some people are curious to see if the state shifts that deadline back a little bit.
But instead of being reactive, what we should do is be in contact, I don't know if we're allowed to do it as a planning board, but be in contact with the elected representatives and tell them, from our perspective, these new laws need to be reformed at best, or at least enough clarification, but to apply it to every law is what isn't working, and for us to just sit back and do that is to not meet the challenge, to my mind, is to get inside their heads and get them to realize this is a bad idea and it needs to be reformed and changed. If that's the real approach.
I will say, some people have said almost those exact
Yeah.
words. They've had a lot of public outreach and listening sessions. I think on the website, they have documented, like listed all of the public comments that they've received on behalf of people, and some of them are more polite than others. Some of them are,
I've been to meetings with a bunch of CEOs throughout southern Maine,
Yeah.
and they meet with people, the people in charge of this ADU law, and they're spirited, I will say, is a good word
Yes.
for it.
it's a good word for it.
Are they
So-
listening?
And the representative is one guy pretty much, and he is, he was listening, but I don't know how much sway he has in the.
He's the mouthpiece, in other words.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, I know a lot of the pushback has been, sorry, I know we're making a start soon,
Yes,
but
yes.
like, I know some people are really rubbed the wrong way because they feel like it almost usurps home rule, whereas
yeah.
the state really is trumping and
Absolutely
trying to
is,
force
in
on these
some
things.
ways.
And I think it's a valid concern, and sometimes the response is, okay, thank you for your comment. And I don't think that's as.
That's not what needs to
helpful.
happen. The politician needs to get it, that the majority of the people living in these towns don't want this. I'm sure but people understood, they would say, no, we don't want this. There's a lot of confidence in that. How do you persuade the politician to, instead of just do this, to build on what you have in the past and maybe require towns within their existing comprehensive plans and zoning to allow it in certain districts, but you just put it anywhere is, to my mind, to have no depth of understanding of the issue. I mean, blatant formula.
So,
Nate's got, yeah.
May I ask questions?
You may. Sorry.
So, David and Tina were discussing this discrepancy between what's been approved for an ordinance change, but not fully incorporated into the ordinance. That's the best I can summarize the conversation. So if I were to go online and look at the ordinances that are online, would I be able to tell that those changes have been made?
Nope.
So that then begs the question is, what are we going to do? Even before we worry about moving forward with all the other changes we've got to make, what are we going to do to get our ordinances in line with what's been previously approved?
We have to have someone within the organization essentially put it all in, put it all together.
So who's going to charge who with that responsibility?
Well, this would also help if we had a town manager who we could speak, I don't know what the current one's last time will be, but,
18th.
18.
no, in other words, it's not worth
Yeah.
approaching him on that. That would be the person we approach. We also need to speak to him about who in the town is gonna be responsible for preparing the little statements, as was done in the past, that we would sign to approve projects.
Which goes back to
The turnover issues, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Job
the
description.
turnover issue, but job descriptions. There are no job descriptions in this town.
Well,
No, that's a whole
and
nother
it
topic.
goes back to the
But I'm
days
saying,
when-
Bob,
Yeah.
this is where it goes, because you're gonna wait until somebody says over here to do that, and they're waiting for you to come up to a decision, but I'm supposed to be the one to make the comment.
Yeah.
Really? So what happens? Nothing gets done. And then we're in the same boat, like you're saying, Merle, somebody goes online, they haven't got a clue what's changed. Go ahead.
It's also an argument for slowing down a little and getting our feet under us and not necessarily changing everything. You know,
During our
just
meeting, I'm gonna make.
complete what we've done so far before we go and do bite off a bunch more.
Go ahead.
So,
Prior to the.
based on the conversation I heard earlier at the special select board meeting, it looks like there's a reasonably high probability that we'll have a new town manager before the planning board meets in March. So can I recommend that that be a topic on the agenda to
Yes.
address the discrepancies and the process for getting them corrected?
What we need is just someone who's assigned to do what I said, prepare the, as was done in the past without, whether there was a written description in the past before the turnover issues, people were doing that just because they were doing that. And that slipped because of no one's fault, but because if you have the sort of turnover, we have institutional memory and who was doing this and that, and the things slip because the new people don't know that what needs to be done, and the new manager, we haven't had a manager long enough to really learn and begin to apply a system.
So I'll be sure to talk to the new manager about it. It has been discussed a number of times.
But I think it needs to be on the agenda for the discussion here as well as with
Yeah.
the
CEO,
manager.
that's the planning department.
Because it's not clear to me
Okay.
What do you think?
where the shortfall is. I mean, we've got different documents, but I'm not sure what the documents are
Yeah.
that need to be merged.
Yeah, essentially all of last year's approved ordinances do not get in. That's what it's all about.
Have you approached the code enforcement officer about that?
Oh, yes, yeah, yeah, Garrett and Michael too.
So why hasn't it been done?
I would do it, I just need, like,
Need direction.
I need, exactly, it's not something I have the authority to just
Right.
set out on my own and do, you know what I mean?
So who do you need to tell you? The town manager?
I would take it from the manager, if he gave me the direction to get in there, make sure the ordinances are up there, because I have access to the
Yeah.
file, right? I can change them if I want
Yeah.
to, it's just, I just.
Just getting permission to do it.
Exactly, because I don't want to go in and edit ordinances, right, the law
The law, yeah.
without any kind of,
Will get hung out to dry.
yeah.
It needs to be edited, and it needs to be proofread, because there's
Oh, gosh,
a lot
yes.
of changes. And sometimes that's an argument for slowing down and digesting what you've done before you do a lot more, but
We gotta get on task here this week.
Yeah, on
We're
task.
paying
Ready?
Brett to be here and look
All right,
handsome,
yep,
so
but I also
let's,
wanna pick his brain.
Let's begin this workshop, yes. So let's see, as I kind of look at our list of ordinances here that we've been talking about recently, from temporary cement and temporary paving, a few others along with that, along with fire hydrants, along with emergency alarms, gravel, marijuana. And I'm missing one yet here, aren't I? Which one am I missing?
Can you hit the top two again?
That might be it, the cement plant and paving plant ones.
Okay,
Yep.
when Bob brought this up before, I thought, correct me if I'm incorrect, Brett, you said that we could not eliminate all of them, because that would be discrimination. Out of those four, we needed to pick one, at least one.
Not necessarily. So it's more about the type of use would have to be permitted in some district. So
Okay, so
where
if in
we
the,
define them currently a little bit differently, I think I would have, some potential legal concerns, if they are defined differently versus if they were defined under the same term kind of thing, if you see what I mean.
So if
Because
you-
otherwise, if we define them all separately, then we do have to allow them within at least one zoning district, so.
okay, so if, the way they are right now, if we took, I thought it was like the portable or, what was it?
Temporary.
Temporary cement plant. And we had this big discussion, we'll put it down by the school. I was being smart, I don't like when I said it, but we were talking about, well, we could buy up property, somebody mentioned buying property, and so we'd have the space. Okay, now, by doing that, have we met the legal criteria so that we wouldn't be sued for discrimination?
Yeah, so like we talked about last time, usually the mechanism for, I would say, uses that are unattractive to towns.
Right.
You can impose some pretty strict performance standards
Yep.
that aren't totally unreasonable, but are also really challenging to meet. So I think the example I gave last time was a setback of 1,000 feet from a residentially zoned area. Well, if almost every property in town is zoned residential, then it's almost not feasible. But technically, we aren't totally discriminating against it, so, yes. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah.
So we only needed one.
For each type of use. Now, if we combined the asphalt, concrete, and paving into one definition, then we would allow it in one zone, and then maybe it would be worth entertaining adding a performance standard, like you mentioned, buffering it from a certain type of zone. But right now, if we are
Right now,
gonna,
Bob's right, we gotta do all three.
right, so like right now, if we are separating out asphalt and concrete and cement, then all three of those would each need to be permitted in one.
Okay, my apologies.
Okay, let me just throw this out. Okay, so we have wind energy development large scale ordinance.
That's nothing to do with those.
Yes, it does, because in all three districts, we said no. Same thing with solar energy conversion, and the same thing with groundwater extraction. We said no in all three districts. And the lawyer approved it, and that comes under industrial use too, so I would say that we can do it. And if we can't do it, let somebody tell us why we can't do it.
Well,
know?
again, this is just my recommendation at the
Right.
end of the day, but.
Well, that's the approach that we took in those three ordinances, and in my mind, we would just continue that with the concrete and the paving and the cement also.
Yeah, again, this is my recommendation, just trying to protect them and based
Sure.
on some more, let's say, standard procedures in the planning world. It's usually the creative mechanism, I guess, to use rather than explicitly outright doing it by saying no. The other, like I mentioned last time, the other mechanism the town could do at the select board level would be placing a moratorium without an expiration date
Right.
for those type of uses as well.
Right.
So,
But a
But
moratorium is only for 180 days.
sometimes you can
You
set
can
like
extend it
a,
another 180, yeah.
yeah, you can
You were
extend
just
it.
saying with no expiration on it.
No.
Right, yeah, so it would continue on.
So you've got a year, 360.
And so, yeah, but I think that's plenty of time too, if you want to address certain performance standards.
All
and
right,
things
so
like
the
that.
select board would have to put in a moratorium.
They could, that's one mechanism to do it.
But if you say no, 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 no in all three districts, somebody has to challenge that. If they want to do it, then they have to challenge, they have to go to the expense of challenging that in your town.
Right, I think my concern is if they win, then the town would be paying some probably hefty legal fees as well for part of that. Or, I mean, after a long challenge process, then it's coming in anyways.
So like you're saying, what we did with those ordinances is with each one of those, with the wind energy, with each one of those ordinances, we do have a definition underneath for each one of those ordinances. So that's what you were saying, you had to give a definition to each one if you wanted to restrict them?
Yeah, so I guess, and not to jump around too much, but I think within that packet that we had last month, so in under tab 1, which is section 4 of our ordinance for the scheduled uses, we have where those terms would be permitted or not permitted within each zoning district. But then later on in the packet, under tab 6, we jump to section 9 of our ordinance, and that's where I outline those definitions for
Right.
each of what those would be.
Right, yeah, yeah.
The other, one of our guidances we had in terms of when we wrote the ordinances for large-scale water, large-scale, those kinds of things. The large scale was very specific because our comprehensive plan talks about small industrial kind of stuff down in the village area and those kinds of things. And so the notion was not to put large scale down there, but to, if it's going to be down there, it's going to be small. It'd be the same
Right.
with anything we had around cement or paving
Right.
on a temporary basis, the same thing, small
Yeah.
scale.
So I think that's why we were leaning towards the temporary being the one that we
Yeah.
said would be a planning board
Yeah.
approval, yeah.
Yeah, and again, I personally think that, that's where the planning board, they have, you guys, you have ways to approve and deny things. I mean, that's an established practice within our ordinance. But also you guys can use your best judgment too. And if it's not in the best interest of the town and, I think there's certain parts of the ordinance that, if you felt it was an appropriate use or scale or those types of things, then, in your findings of fact, when you're going through, then I think those are worth mentioning if you're going to deny them,
Yeah.
so.
All these things come down to a basic health, safety, and welfare issue, you have to meet that criteria. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Good. So we can, probably we should just take on where we left off in terms of your booklet.
Yeah, I think it's a good place to start. I think we stopped within tab 3,
Okay?
under administration. I could be wrong, I might be blending it together a little bit, because we had stopped at staff level reviews, from what I recall.
Yep.
I think it was between section 6 and section 7.
Page 6.3 is it in your book? Yeah.
Yeah, I do have a check mark on my page, which means I checked it off as good, so it might be 7-2, excuse me.
Okay.
I think we left off here talking about how we classify projects.
That's where I had my paper.
So I've got a question.
Was it, okay, yeah.
I have a question about that. And I understand the wording, but I just want to make sure that, so is the intent that it would be any project involving less than 2,500 square feet of gross non-residential floor area? So that would be separate from the 2,000 square feet of impervious surface, which is the next one. You got number 1 and number 2. That wouldn't be, you couldn't combine that to make it 5,000 square feet. That's inclusive, the 2,500 square feet of gross non-residential floor area. If you get to that point on the lot, then impervious surface, additional impervious surface on that property would take that staff level review away, right? Like a driveway or a patio or something like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you can have 2,500 square feet of non-residential area plus 2,500 square feet of impervious surface area, right?
Yeah, and correct me if I'm not understanding here. So I think what you're talking about is being able to combine two of these to still fall within staff review where it might be better suited for planning board. But I think what really covers this here is the impervious surface area.
Right.
Because ultimately, I think that really categorizes all this. You know, if you're at
Anything on the improvements, so
Really,
whether you got
yeah.
a building on it or whatever. it is.
Yeah, I mean, usually this is pretty standard language just to try to help define and differentiate like the different types of projects. Because I think 2,500 square feet of impervious surface areas can be a little vague and cover quite a range. So I do think it's a little bit better to, you know, kind of explain out what a couple of those projects might be, whether it's, you know, a commercial or like non-residential, like we're calling it here, or certain types of dwelling units, those kind of really smaller scale projects.
But it's a total of 2,500 square feet of impervious surface, whether it's a house or patio or whatever, and that's the maximum per lot, right? It can't go beyond,
Well, the commas are in there to separate it.
well, you can make that mistake, but I think what that means is the total for a lot of 2,500 square feet, not 2,500 plus 2,500.
So I guess, yeah, in this example, I think what you're getting at here is if there's a house that was 2,200 square feet and they wanted to propose a deck that was 600 square feet, that would bring the total above 2,500.
Right, and they come, planning board review.
The intent for this is more on a project-specific thing. I think we talked about this last time, so I'm looking at my note here about implementing a time frame, like a year time frame. That way, it's not a annual staff level review of, you know, 2,500 square feet, 2,500 square feet, like adding up that way kind
Yeah,
of
this
thing.
is 2 years.
Yeah, you know, and if we can increase it, you know, to 5 years if the board is interested or concerned that that might happen, but.
Because I'm
it's
sure
more-
you've seen that in your business take place, right? Somebody, just to avoid planning board review, do 2,500 square feet this year, 2,500 square feet next year. You can
Yes
build
and
quite a
no,
complex over-
oftentimes it's covered in their common scheme. Like we
Right.
see this a lot where it's,
Common scheme,
yeah,
interesting.
it's a term that DEP loves to use for projects of, well, gosh, you did this 10 years ago and this is still building upon that kind of thing.
Yep.
And so it's considered what they call common scheme. So we see it a lot, especially at the DEP level, where if we are right below that threshold to trigger site law, but then a couple of years later we want to expand, you know, they consider it as common scheme and it kicks it up to the higher tier threshold.
Okay.
It talks about non-residential, so it seems to be saying that someone wants to build, say, a non-residential building of 50 by 50, that it doesn't come before the planning board. But one of the criteria is non-residential.
Yes, I guess an instance for that might be, like, well, in my head I first thought of home occupation, but that would come before you folks anyways. If somebody wanted to build an accessory structure, even if it might fall under that criteria, if it's being used for non-residential purposes like a home occupation, obviously that would still come to the
I
board.
was thinking more along the lines of a mini mall or something like that, where you build a 2,499 square foot building, and then 2 years later you add on to that and build another one next to it, and then a couple of years later you build another one on that. Pretty soon you've got a whole big complex that never came before the planning board.
Yeah, so I guess, would the board be okay if I added like similar to that common scheme type language
Sure.
within here as
Yeah,
well?
that would
That
be
way
helpful.
we're covered? Okay, I can do that.
That would be helpful.
Now, in other towns, this has been basically applied to people who want to put in some sort of a, say, a metal building for trucks or something.
This could really fall under a wide range of things, really.
I'm just trying to see why they were talking about, you know, 2,500 foot building, non-residential, what they might be referring to as some of these post and whatever you call them, you know, industrial buildings rather than residential.
Would that pertain to a garage on a residential lot too? It would be a non-residential building, just a garage. So it's sort of like what we had when it come before the board here just recently.
It was a garage, yeah.
Yeah, it was garage.
For
Converted.
like a home occupation or for?
No,
Yeah, it could be
for-
for home occupation, storage, whatever,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think that falls down to what it's being used for, right? If it's a garage expansion for somebody to park another car in, obviously, that's falling under a residential, and so if it's small enough, then that'd be something staff level, have Christina, submit those plans and documentation and that kind of thing, and she'd pull the file and be able to review it pretty quickly, probably within a couple weeks. Whereas I think right now, like some of those types of buildings, I mean, we've seen a couple applications in the last few months for really, really small, minor projects. I think we might have left off the conversation a bit last time talking about non-conforming lots and shoreline zoning. So I guess the one caveat to shoreline zoning is thankfully we have a whole separate ordinance for shoreline zoning. So if it pretty clearly delineates that something needs to go to the planning board within shoreline zoning, then that trumps our land use ordinance here.
Okay.
For non-conforming, I think it's one of those things that, to me, I think we can, entrust staff to use their best judgment for these smaller projects, that if they're submitting the information that's required by our ordinance and they're meeting setbacks and they're not exceeding the lot coverage and things like that, then, it could be appropriate that stays a staff level review, given that it's a smaller project. So.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I just didn't know if it was confusing to anybody, the double 2,500, the 2,500 for impervious. I don't know if maybe we should have some language that says that this is a total of 2,500 square feet of impervious surface, and not, so people don't get confused that it's 2,500 impervious surface and 2,500 floor area,
Yeah, so I think what we can do, what I'll do for, I guess, this next round of revisions for our next meeting, I'll implement a timetable. I think last time we talked about 2 years. Does that sound like
Yeah,
too little or too much?
you have it right
Okay.
in here, yeah.
So I'll add in a 2-year time frame. I'll also add in language about the common scheme, about, successive development and those kind of things where it could be elevated. I think we already have a standard in there about where the code officer or the reviewing authority always reserves the right to elevate it up to planning board.
Right.
So if it does become questionable, then Christina or.
Yeah, that's right in there, that's the last paragraph.
Right,
Yeah.
so obviously we could elevate that up, but then again, to your point, David, of, I think, clarifying a little bit better in
Yeah,
terms of what these
just
criteria are.
so people don't think that you can do 2,500 feet of impervious surface and 2,500 square feet of floor area, because, I mean, a person could get confused about what it is.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Brett, could we look at, and everybody else, under C on that page, next to the last paragraph, you crossed out planning board and said reviewing authority. Now, who is the reviewing authority?
So, reviewing authority, now that we're
Should be the CEO.
introducing staff level reviews,
CEO,
CEO.
right?
it could be.
I think it should be. What does the board think?
I would think the CEO would be involved in that for sure.
Who's that?
That's me.
I'm gonna kick you in the shins for the.
Kick me in the shit, I'm not calling.
Generally, I've seen it in a couple ordinances where reviewing authority is kind of the catch-all term because it includes planning board and/or code officer. So where we're implementing something that's just staff level or Christina would be
Oh, that's how
the
you
reviewing
review it.
authority.
Okay.
But for other larger applications, the reviewing authority is the planning board. So it's a term that can mean both entities.
Yeah, but see, that's where we gotta stop this ambiguity. I mean, the CEO should be able to look at something and say, that is a staff, that's minor, that's major. That goes to the planning board, we've gotta bring in the town planner. If she can't do that, she needs to be
Well,
fired.
right now, our ordinance reads that the town planner is the one that makes that determination as to whether it's a minor or major site plan review. That's written right in our ordinance
Those
that
have to
way.
be rewritten, and you know
Well,
it
they
as
could
well
be.
as I do. Yeah,
Well,
But that's the way, I'm just saying, that's the way it's
yeah,
written
but
right
I'm
now.
saying,
planner should make a recommendation to the board, that meet certain criteria, and then it may just be a formality that the board
That's kind of what we
gets
do.
the record.
Yeah, you can make those amendments to the ordinance, and it doesn't have to go through the town hearing or anything.
Square pegs and square holes, you know what I mean? Either meet certain criteria for square footage, distances, whatever, or it doesn't. I mean,
All right, but if we're
certain
rewriting the
requirements.
ordinances, all right, should we not correct them and put them in the way we want them to be?
Absolutely.
Now,
Time to do that,
and
of
then
course.
we've got to go back and straighten out, where do we want the town planner and where do we want the CEO? At this point, this is the new version. You follow me?
Yes, but I'm just wondering who has authority over that, whether that's a select board that's got authority over that. I don't think we do.
So right now, let's do it and then we'll ask them later.
We can bring it up at our
Well, yeah,
meeting with
there's
them,
no
right?
problem, right.
Yep.
But I'm saying, but I really think the CEO or his or her designate should go in there.
I like that, yeah. It's other common language used as well, the designee especially as
Yeah.
well, so.
And that puts it,
Do you review all of the applications anyway, Brett? Do you-
For like planning board level?
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
For
So-
like some of the,
So it's probably not that big a deal anyway, because if you're reviewing them anyway, you're obviously talking to Christina, and
well,
you're gonna make the decision on whether it's a minor or major or minor site plan
she
review.
can
right?
determine.
I guess, and let me.
She can determine that.
Yeah,
I was
no,
gonna
I
say,
know.
yeah, and let me back up to, I guess, when I'm directed to, like, sometimes some smaller projects, you know, they don't necessarily warrant a full-blown memo, right,
Sure,
that
right.
outlines the whole ordinance and how it meets it kind of thing. I think for our meeting next month with the subdivision, not to get too deep into that, obviously, but like, I think that's one of the things that, from a planning level, I just wanna make sure that they are considering certain things, so I'm probably gonna write a memo and have that outlined. But I think the idea of the code officer and or their designee, designated those kind of things, I think that's totally appropriate for this
And I
discussion,
agree.
so.
If it's a subdivision, we need your expertise. And we'll call on you. But until then, stay home.
Save you guys some money.
Okay, now, over on the other page, the next page over, under 3. I may be all wet on this, but the 1, 2, 3, the fourth line down, under planning board completeness determination, did we change that the applicant would mail out the notices? Didn't we turn that back to the office?
Yes, we did.
So.
It's not in there yet.
That's one of those ordinances, it's not
There
in
you
our
go.
ordinance.
It's not in there.
The hell not?
Yeah, it
Is that,
exists,
is
but
that
it's
in
not
our color-coded version, maybe?
Why isn't it? I mean, seriously, Bob, I'm not trying to give you a hard time. Why isn't it?
I
That's
wish I knew.
wrong.
I wish I knew.
Well, I think one of the reasons it isn't there is we have such turnover at the manager position that
Paul's right.
these long-term projects don't get put on calendars and seen through to the end, which is,
Okay, there's another one, would you please mark it too?
Remember that?
Yep.
March 25th, Okay,
So let's keep going.
one more down, but these are corrections that I think we need to look at, Bob.
Okay.
Okay, under the same
Well,
thing.
we gave Brett, I think Barrett here gave Brett all the various changes from last
I
June.
want to make sure that this is there. Because this one says the planning board shall provide the public an opportunity to comment on whether the application is complete. I think we threw that out.
no, we vote whether we're gonna have a public hearing.
We'll have a public hearing, but the public doesn't determine whether the application is complete or not, Paul.
No, we
That's
don't.
our job, that's what it says.
Where's it saying
Yeah, did
here?
that get changed in this? I don't recall.
Teacher on this.
Tina, we could spend a long time going through what's not right about some of this stuff, but it is in the ordinance. The trouble is, it's very hard to get to at this point, so it's not in front of people.
Says the
When Brett-
planning
when Brett
board
puts-
shall provide the public an opportunity to comment.
Yeah.
That's what it says.
Yeah.
So it's.
On whether or not the application is complete.
Shall provide the public an
So
opportunity.
that we
to comment.
decide.
That's
whether
fine,
they can
that's
sign.
fine, okay.
That's right.
That's
So
that
Brett-
change
Brett
that's not in
has-
our ordinance, huh?
Brett has all the updates.
Yes.
So I'm sure you'll integrate that in as you see it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think this, like I mentioned before, I think the copy I had of this version was in 2024, but
Sure.
Garrett sent me the 2025. So
Excellent.
yeah,
Okay.
if it's been incorporated, it'll be in there, but I can double check as well.
Okay, good.
So.
Okay, what's the next?
So if the board is okay with what was in, on page 7-2, I suppose, I think the next section would be under tab 5, which we're looking at our subdivision ordinance. And I believe the only change within here is on page 8-11.
Now, is this the 24 version or the 25 version?
This is 2024 still. So,
This whole book is 2024 version.
Okay, what does it say for 2025?
so what we're looking at here on page 8-11, we talk a little bit about waivers within our subdivision ordinance here, but where subdivisions are most likely where we're gonna see a lot of roadway design and improvements and proposed roadways. I wanted to make sure that we were being clear about being able to request waivers for the roadway design standards that we referenced earlier on in the ordinance. So this is more of a clarification item, referencing over another part of the ordinance that we're changing. So,
When we get a chance, we gotta go back to that too, that table.
okay.
I'm on page 811. What section should I be looking at on 811?
So, I think
two.
it's-
Item 2.
Yep, it's under F, preliminary plan, number 2,
Yep.
I guess just before 2.
Last sentence in that paragraph.
Required improvement?
Criteria for the board to consider when granting waivers in association with roadway design standards is detailed within section 5A33D of this ordinance.
That's an addition, though, he won't see that. in
Huh?
this. That's an addition, though, he won't see that in the,
Yeah, no, this is a change to that portion of the ordinance. This is an addition.
It's an addition, yep.
But the 33, I mean, he can look back to,
It's probably not on there, Merle, because, yeah,
I can't
because
come,
these are the changes that we're working on right now.
that aren't visible to the public.
That's correct. Yeah.
So any questions or concerns on that page or that reference?
No,
I hope not. I was hoping we wouldn't get stuck there
pretty
tonight.
simple.
Yeah, okay.
So the last one, the last tab is section 9 of our ordinance where we have our definitions. So again, we're looking at adding definitions for the asphalt paving plants. I did add a definition in for backlot driveway where this is under tab 6, but we're looking at page 9-2.
6, 9, thank you.
So, again, this references our backlot driveways that we talked about earlier, and how we're defining those. The cement plant and concrete plant, temporary concrete plant, and then Minor Street and,
excuse me, is that supposed to be a temporary cement plant? Or are we accepting a real cement plant?
No, temporary.
Well, it says cement plant in here. The other one says.
Yes, that's just because it's used as a definition in the table initially.
yeah, we only define temporary asphalt plants and temporary concrete plants, but we don't, within the use table, have temporary cement plant. That was
Yeah.
pulled, I think, Bob, from the information that was done
Yeah.
before as well, so.
I agree.
I
How
don't know
did
if
we
that was
not put it in the table?
for
Why
It is
did we
in the
not put
table.
it, the temporary one?
It's in the table.
Well, then why
temporary
is it-
cement plants. Well, we don't have temporary cement plants within the table because we're not defining it here.
Right.
Are you asking why we don't have a definition for temporary cement plants?
Yeah. Why do we have a definition of cement plant if we have a temporary cement plant in the table?
Nobody's gonna set up a temporary cement plant. Cement's what they
Well,
use for
they-
concrete, they'll transport that in.
Well then, guys, why is it there? I'm not being funny.
I'm sorry, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
in the table, it says temporary cement plant. Is that what you're telling me?
Go back to that.
Well,
No, it
this
says
is
cement plant, right here.
Cement is a combination, like you said, of limestone and other
Cement
things.
plant.
Right,
So
then
we're
they'll
not
go to a
allowing that anywhere, right?
Plant,
right.
and they mix
No, no,
that
no,
with
no, no.
water and sometimes crushed stone to form concrete. So it's referring, the term concrete is being used both for the limestone portion and the finished product of mixing it with the stone and water. And whatever else they're putting in the concrete, so.
Which they would truck into the plant. Yeah.
So is it a
Can we-
permanent plant or is it a temporary plant?
So the way we define cement plant, it reads to me as a permanent type thing.
Right.
So we are not defining a temporary cement plant. We define a temporary asphalt plant, which is in that use table. And we define a temporary concrete plant, which is in the table, but we don't define a temporary cement plant.
Why not, if the others are temporary?
Well, those are usually more permanent type operations, so it'd be pretty difficult, and
Okay,
probably.
I'm not having a hard time, I don't understand.
Well,
No,
I suppose, a cement plant generally is a large plant near a place they can access limestone.
Okay,
And then you'd use railroad cars to bring that heavy material to a concrete plant,
all right,
where it would be
okay,
mixed with other
yeah, okay,
things. For that's generally how it works, or it could be transferred to trucks and moved. But
Okay.
basically, that's it. And what a temporary concrete plant is something that you set up on site. You bring in the cement stuff, you bring in crushed stone, you mix it with water, and on site, you're mixing cement. I don't know why. I don't think it's a big deal around here because there's enough cement plants within 20 miles that it's not a practical necessity. But anyway, that's what it is.
okay,
So the likelihood you'll have a temporary cement plant isn't likely because there has to be located where the limestone is. And then the concrete is sometimes a big plant like in, there's a good sized one in by Route Exit 8, and
yes,
that's a good example of a big sized plant. And then there'd be smaller ones they mix on site. And an example of part of how it works is down in Baldwin, there's some sort of a tower that they use to put, I think, batches of cement that can be taken to places. I transgress.
oh, no, all right, thank you, because there were gonna be people out there that are gonna be looking at this that don't know, they
Yeah,
don't know
that's,
what's
I mean, you have to
happening.
know something about how the system works.
So, are we done with the definitions? Is that?
I don't know that I got quite through all of them. Again, yeah, I wanted to reference the ones like the asphalt, the concrete, cement that we're updating in the use table, but the other really changes here that we're looking at within the definitions are in relation to the roads and our roadway design standards. So where we are, I wouldn't say shaking up how our roadways are designed necessarily, but more or less how we're defining them is what's important. So like I mentioned, we're including a definition for backlot driveway, for a minor street, and then road, and then private road. I did feel like it was important to clarify the difference there as well. So.
Now, on private roads, we've got 9 residential lots, and on minor streets, we've got,
Yeah.
we've got lots on that too, okay, all right, yeah.
If that aligns with the table, we kept all
Yeah.
those other ones under
Yeah.
lots, I believe, so.
Okay. Well, I think that's good.
Question? So the current ordinance references backlot driveways, am I correct?
Yes.
It does, but not within our definition section.
I understand.
Yep.
But is the way it's referenced in the existing ordinance consistent with the definition that's being used?
Yes, I believe I just pulled it straight from that section. I might have changed because how we're defining the threshold for like how many lots or residences it's serving. And it might be a little different there, but
So to avoid potential conflict, is there any reason that perhaps the wording in the existing reference to backlot, it's not the definition, but it's the reference inside the ordinance? I mean, do we have any potential for conflict?
no, like I said, I pretty much copied that definition verbatim where it was elsewhere referenced. And just, it just needs to be pulled into our definitions, so.
I guess what I'm saying is, are there words that should be removed from that existing section because it's now in the definition?
I guess let me try to look and find exactly where it's at. We could.
What are you looking for, backlot driveway?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on section 4, page 9.
Right, I mean, I don't know that we necessarily need to eliminate this whole section, because I do think there is value in including it, how we're talking about the access to lots, the setback, the side yard width, the design criteria, those kind of things, I think are still valuable to include. But
So while we're right there, just to clarify that, did we keep the minimum right of way at 30 feet? And did we change the minimum width of the road to 18 feet?
for
Yeah, that's what
backlot
I have.
driveways?
Yes, for backlot driveways.
For backlot driveways, I had 30-foot right-of-way, I had 15 feet marked down in mine from our discussion.
I thought, you had changed that to 18 feet. I know we had some discussion.
Well, it also comes to the question of whether referring to units or lots.
That's right.
Because lots could be developed into as much as 6 units, as far as I can see. But if you limit it to units, it might not be necessary to have quite as demanding.
I think a lot probably would have three units, right?
3 units on lot.
A duplex and an ADU on each lot.
Yeah,
So that would be 6 units for the 2 lots.
yeah.
And
But if you want to limit it to,
and then you have to talk about number of trips that would generate. You know, you figure what, 2 cars per family going back and forth.
so
So
if you
that's,
limit it to 2 dwelling units for backload provision, then you might not have to have such hefty road requirements. But if you define it as lots under the current state law, you're correct, you could have as many as 6, and maybe you do need the more hefty.
so that would probably average out to somewhere around 36 trips per day
I don't.
on that road.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it would. 6 times 2 times, wait, no. We're talking a grand total of 6 dwelling units, right, with 2 on each. So
That's what
that's
I'm
12.
asking, can we
2
constrain
trips,
it?
that'd be 24 trips.
So I guess, I'm not sure I'm quite following, so we're looking at changing the threshold for how a development is based on the number of trips generated?
No, I was just thinking to myself, the width of the road, we're just talking about the width of the road right now, and I'm just thinking if you did have, you know, if there was 24 trips on that road each day, and that doesn't take into account for parties or whatever else people have. I was just wondering if the 15-foot road would be wide enough for people to be bypassing one another on that road if there was actually a little bit of traffic generated, but that's just
That's your
something to
word.
think about, I don't know. Yeah.
That's in your
So
world.
you think the 15 feet is wide
Yeah.
enough?
If 2 cars can't pass on a 15-foot wide road, they shouldn't be driving.
No, I just thought I'd bring it up.
It's
Yeah.
good you did.
I actually had in my notes that we stuck with the 30,
Yeah,
and then and did the 18.
that's what I thought too. That's what I had written down too, but we may have, I know we had quite a discussion about it.
Might be more practical to go with the 30 and the 15, because that seems to be
Yeah,
a width, and that both the road width and the right-of-way width that are designed to go with each other, but that's.
I mean, it's not like you're gonna be speeding, coming and
You okay with
going.
that? 15?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I just thought I'd bring that up. Yep.
Okay.
I've got a
It all
question.
goes back to talking the state off the issue of 3 for a lot.
Yeah,
On the private road,
So the other question we're talking about now, of course, is should we be talking lots or dwelling units?
Yes, yeah.
And what do you suggest, Dave?
You know, I'm, again, because of the way that the state's mandating this thing, I'm thinking dwelling units, because I'm thinking that each lot is gonna have, you know, it has the potential for three dwelling units. Now, is that in fact what will take place? Who knows? Tough telling, you know, it's no way of really knowing, so. And again, it's the vehicular traffic that you talk about on roads, it's not necessarily the lots, you know? So, I don't know, whatever you guys think.
if we do it by lots, the state is then saying that they can put three units on.
Yeah.
And that's not taking into account in the future if you have to sue it, because if you have to sue it, now you can bring it up to
You
4.
can go up to 4.
So it's like, you know, I don't know, but we're supposed to
Okay.
be planning for the future, and so, like Tina's saying, you get one chance at this, so, you know.
So if you're talking lots, the chances are the average person is not going to be trying to max out the dwellings on a lot. You're gonna put your house on a lot. That's why you buy a lot. You might put an ADU on for an in-law. You may have somebody down the road that would come in, but again, if it's a developer, that's gonna have to be a whole different process yet of coming through the board, blah, 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 to talk about the number of units that are gonna be on that road. So to me, reality is, if we go by lots, we're safer.
I personally lean towards lots for a couple different reasons. One is it aligns with the state subdivision statute. It's a term that's pretty commonly defined and used quite often. It does cause some confusion sometimes between the lots and dwelling units and how things are tripped, but generally lots is the safest to fall back. The challenge with dwelling units, and especially for ADUs, is it's a little unfair to judge something on the potential. I think we can try to plan for it ordinance-wise, but it's, I think, a little unfair to judge something on the potential because it's not proposed, right? You know, we can make up a bunch of hypothetical scenarios, but if an actual application is before the board has to use the ordinance to make the best decision to judge what's before them, kind of thing. With ADUs, exactly, some people might not build any, some might build quite a few. But the other challenge is with ADUs, the state has restrictions on, you can't require additional parking spaces for ADUs. I think also within there as well, it comes down to road infrastructure as well. So I think it gets a little tricky where if we're defining something under dwelling units, let's say, just for an example's sake, if there's 9 dwelling units across a variety of number of lots, if they then put in that 10th dwelling unit and trigger that higher tier threshold, and that's up to that one individual to have to upgrade the rest of the road to do that. I think that's a really challenging situation versus, you know, if we're pretty strategic here with how we are defining under lots. Down the road, I mean, truthfully, I think it's, I don't want to say not a big deal because it is, but I think, you know, most subdivisions where we're going to see this happening are probably going to be, odds are, in larger subdivisions. You know, if something is 40 lots, you know, I think the odds that an ADU goes up in there significantly, but we already have the highest tier road standard applied to it.
Yeah,
So,
so-
you know, it'll be paved, it's maxed out in terms of right of way and width and those kind of things.
The
So,
sidewalks, the whole.
right, sidewalks, like all these different amenities and all this higher standard. Not to say that it's not important when it happens in those smaller scale situations, but again, I think to me, it's a little cleaner to define it as lots.
Yeah.
as long as we do so with the understanding that it could lead to multiple.
Right, and I think that's the benefit, if we do want to like increase our standards, I mean, this is again, where it's a little challenging to judge something based on the potential, but I do think it is just, that, we recognize that something that has 9 lots might have more than 9 dwelling units, and as long as we're still okay with these road standards, and we can accept that, then I think that's appropriate, so.
Can we just go back to section 4, page 6 for a second? There are schedule of uses. I just wanted to make you aware that the number sequence, like we were talking about before, where asphalt paving plant would be 14, asphalt paving plant, the next one's 15, concrete plant,
Yep.
16, 17, just to, get the number sequence right.
Yeah.
Because the other ones plug in before that. And then, when we were talking about, the village district for, the temporary asphalt plant and, temporary concrete plant, that would be planning board review for those two, the village district would be planning board review. I think we had talked about 1,500
Yes, we did.
in
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
that and, not 1,000.
Yep,
We did.
yeah, I do have that note over here as well, so I think
I got it too.
back later on in the performance standards
Okay.
section of the ordinance, that's where we would incorporate that buffering requirement.
And then if we go to section 5, page 23, under backlot driveway,
Before you go off of that though.
Yeah.
Back to the asphalt plants and temporary paving plants. Should not the rural district, we also said, of course, is going to be a no on the rural district for the asphalt paving plant. There's going to be no for the concrete plant.
yes, those are no's, yeah,
No,
yeah,
the
yeah,
cement.
yeah, it was just planning board for the temporary ones,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
And so if you go to section 5, page 23, the table 5.1,
Page 23?
Where are you, where are you
Yeah,
getting the
that's-
numbers to your
right here,
pages?
section 5, page 23.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
got it, I'm a little dense.
Oh, sorry. And then you go to, under backlot driveway, road base minimum. Road base minimum, where is it? Where's road base minimum?
So we agreed on
Minimum
this.
width of
Base
pavement.
minimum. That should be,
60, but
that should
reduce
be,
the minimum width of payment.
instead of reading,
18, it should be
instead of reading not applicable, that should be 15 inches to fall in line with our ordinance, our backlot driveway ordinance, which requires 15 inches of bank run gravel.
Where were you looking
Yeah,
specifically?
The 15 inches of bank run gravel is, that's on section 4, page 9.
Change this to the 15 inches.
Oh, there we are, I see it. Okay. The road base minimum.
For, yes, for
Yep.
any street or back lot?
Just the back lot.
That's just the backlot, yeah.
So, why would,
Probably building it to 12 or 15 anyway, if there
So
is
where are
a
you
potential
changing
of growth, you might as well leave it
You got that?
at, leave it 15.
One
See
on
right here,
Page
road
5.
base minimum 15 inches.
I got it,
Dash,
I
Scratch
got
out,
that.
scratch that, don't put 15.
There's a
Yeah, and
table
that-
5
the reference to that was on section 4,
Correct.
page 9,
so
right here.
Number 8,
what I see
See
for
right there?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
minimum
all right, what's this one over here?
road base
Is this
is 20 inches, not 15 inches.
Not on backlot driveway.
For,
Well, in mine, backlot driveway is not in the table.
right, but these are the
That's
proposed
correct.
ordinance changes.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to clarify, because it's
Yeah.
very confusing.
Sure.
Try to keep up with your conversation.
So you don't have that-
What's publicly available.
You've heard the concept of GIGO, garbage in, garbage out? That may be what you're dealing with. One of the things about the magnificent computer is it will keep the same information and return the same information until some actual flesh and blood person changes it.
Right. It's always good as the human behind it. you know.
That's right.
Garbage in, garbage out.
So this leads to another question.
Okay.
I think that's it.
We're adding to that table, 5-1, a column for gravel roads, is that right? Or is it for backlot?
No, we don't, we haven't gotten to that yet, Merle.
So,
Well, the private roads are what the gravel roads essentially are.
That's a gravel.
So we would add into this table, to answer your question, in total, what it looks like is we have a column for backlot driveways,
Okay.
for private gravel roads, for minor streets and collector streets. So that way it's all in one consolidated location
Okay.
for all four road
that's
classifications.
good. So my next question, my follow-up to that, is there basically going to be 4 columns for 4 different types of roads.
Well, can I have a look at this and you'll see what we're talking about?
But are those, all 4 of those going to be in the definitions?
Well, I'm not sure I understand. So we define the road type. I think it would be helpful if you saw what we're looking at here. Because we already defined minor street, right?
Right.
And we already defined collector street
Right.
externally. So it's the same thing is going on here where where we're defining backlot driveway and we're defining private road.
That's all, that's what I'm trying to clarify.
Right, yep.
Is that so that the definition section will be consistent with section 5-1?
Correct, yep.
Okay, or table 5-1.
And on the backlot driveway, we actually do have all of the criteria you have to meet for the backlot driveway, including culverts and turnarounds and everything, the whole thing.
Right,
Yep,
okay.
Okay, question.
drainage
Under,
ditches.
under private road, on, is it 9-10? Right. Did we say that the town was no longer going to accept private roads as public roads? Was that part of our discussion?
Actually, we did talk about that.
Huh?
I think we did talk about that.
Okay,
Yeah.
because under here it's saying that private roads are to be maintained by an owner or private ownership such as a homeowners association or road association and shall not be accepted as a public road unless the road is proven to meet the public road standards as determined by the Public Works Department and the state of Maine professional engineer.
And accepted by the select board.
Yeah.
But are we still going to accept a private road if it meets public road standards? I thought I
Well,
would.
that'd be a town decision.
That'd be
Yes,
town.
not
I
up
think
to us.
to that
Okay.
point, it would need to go to the select board and be
Okay.
placed on the
As
warrant.
determined by the select.
It's out of our hands.
It requires select board.
Yeah.
Right, as determined
To go to the town, then he has to go to the town.
by the select board.
Yeah, I think that language would look something along the lines of, shall not be accepted unless proven to meet the public roadway standards as determined by the Public Works Director and a state of Maine professional engineer, and approved by the select board to be placed on the warrant and approved by the town board. It's quite the process. It's kind of cool, I think, actually.
Yeah, we did one of those at our last
What
town
about a
meeting.
road that accesses more than 9 lots, which is what's proposed there?
That would need to be a paved road and it would be classified under minor and collector street.
We actually approved one of those at our last town meeting. Yeah. Private road.
So we gotta put some more stuff in there.
Yeah, I made a note to add that in. Yeah, that's important, so it's a good catch. Thank you.
Okay.
Now, with all of these things that you're gonna do, okay, it costs a small fortune to do it this way. It's fantastic. It's very professional. But to save money, do you think you could give a big clip and just have the pages?
Sure.
I mean, what do you guys wanna do? How much did it cost for these right here?
I'm a bad businessman because I said I'd do that for free and I did.
You
To-
did?
To print these out, this was kind of pro bono because I think this has been far more effective
Yeah, it
than
is.
just
Oh, I
talking about
agree.
things.
But I-
So maybe the next time I'll charge you, but I guess, but this has been, I think, far more, I think we've saved a lot more money by doing it this way
Okay.
than talking about
All right,
things.
because I had heard that these things cost a fortune.
Yeah, we saved on your hourly rate.
Yeah, maybe I billed for when I bound it together or something, but. no,
Thank you
but-
for doing that.
But for something like this, though, I mean, it truly has been, I think, far more beneficial for our discussions to look
I
at it.
agree.
And I would guess to say is that in certain circumstances, your waiver provision would allow somebody not to have to pay it, correct?
So back to this, for the table?
Yeah, no, for the private roads on 9, 10.
Correct, if a waiver was granted by the board,
Because I think in the circumstances, it wouldn't make sense to require somebody to pave an entire half, 3/4 of a mile of road if they wanted to put in one or two. Yeah, so.
Yeah, that'd be.
As long as we
right,
can, because my theory on the road thing is land is unique and we need to look at every project individually and see if what accommodations are reasonable.
But Tina, I guess to get back to your thing, yeah, we could. The reason why I did it this way, I think it was important to show the context of the changes in this section in its entirety. But I think for next time, if the board is okay with the change that we made, then yeah, next time we can only bring out what's actually changed.
Sort it out
It's a little
properly.
more clear that way too.
Because one of the things I've had is we've been
No,
going through
this
so many
was
changes.
fantastic, and you couldn't ask for more
Fine.
professional
Copy
presentation.
here may not necessarily reflect it. And that's what he's saying about getting the access to the computer. We've made changes, but they haven't.
Okay, so where are we
been
gonna
entered
start
into the
next time?
record.
Yep.
Right
So-
back at the beginning with all the changes to 25.
Correct, yep, so I guess, let me back up a little bit. So I think if we're all good with the changes made within this packet now, I need to take a step backwards and work off the most current 2025 version, and then look at implementing each of these changes that are within here, but also the changes made that we've discussed as well. I think that really won't take me that long to do. Garrett sent me copies of exactly what I need to work off of already. So where we already have most of the language, that's easy to copy and paste. And then just those small little edits as well. I think we're in good shape for next meeting, so.
Well, we have a meeting come up for a public hearing in a couple of weeks, right?
It's,
24th.
Garrett, is this the timetable? I just had it on here a second ago. Where you go?
So what you probably should be prepared to do is make a small presentation of the proposed changes and then the people can at least be informed and they can
February
whatever comments
24th.
they like.
That was our proposed date for the public hearing, but I don't think the timing is going to work out, just in terms of, like,
Yeah.
the notification requirements.
Oh, yeah,
So I
right.
think we're going to be on the March.
Okay.
So we're gonna not have one the end of this month, and the next one will be a regularly scheduled meeting in March, correct?
Okay.
I don't wanna get it wrong.
Scratch that.
So we're not having.
Do we have any
24th?
We
scheduled,
are having a meeting on the 24th.
comprehensive plan meeting
After
scheduled
this.
yet?
No, I believe our comprehensive plan meeting is the last Thursday of the month.
Of this month?
I don't know if it's this month, I'd have to check that.
Would you please, and notify me, please?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. And so next, we're gonna address this next on March the 10th, you said?
We are, well,
It'll be the
we're,
public hearing.
on the timetable we have actually. Does everybody have that one?
No, that was just for the select board, but I can print that copy. so
Yeah,
I can
let's do
send it over to you
that.
guys.
That would be great for everybody to see that. The way this reads out, gang, is February, it originally said February 17th, which of course didn't happen. It's actually, we're having our meeting right now, February 12th, ahead of that point. Proposed ordinance changes with a draft of wording changes, additions will be prepared and presented to the select board for their March 2 meeting.
These mine.
I don't know where you're sitting here. I
March
don't
2
know for
would be,
me.
Yeah.
when's our next meeting?
And our next meeting is,
March 10th is the second Tuesday of the month.
But we did have a meeting for the 24th
24th.
as well. Yeah, But
Yes,
that
we
one
did.
isn't going to be a public hearing meeting, that's
No.
just going to be applications.
Okay,
There's
24th
gonna
is an
be a
application.
meeting this month on the 24th.
24th.
Okay,
February
24th. We're having a
24th, but it's not
workshop.
gonna be a public
That's
hearing.
workshop stuff, yeah.
Okay,
There's gonna be a workshop?
yeah,
Well, depends how far we get here tonight.
we've got enough work to keep
We have
choke a horse.
Now, anybody coming in on these proposed projects, or they just here for our edification?
Those are for the meeting on the 24th,
Okay.
and the applicants will be coming in on that meeting.
Okay. That's gonna be a regular meeting with a 5 o'clock.
And then we're going to March 10th, the second Tuesday of the month.
Yeah, that's mine. Sure.
What are you doing?
That's mine, right?
I don't trust you following through.
I cannot make the meeting on the 24th.
That's mine, right?
I'll tell you
okay.
guys that, I won't be here.
We can probably get through, since it's not a public hearing, we can probably get through. Because this is gonna be basically pre-application, is that what these are gonna be coming up?
Yeah,
with?
one of them is pre-app and the other, because it's subdivision, it's sketch plan, which is basically the subdivision.
So we won't be
pre-app.
making
Would you-
any heavy decisions, just whether it meets the application.
Okay. David is gonna be here. He'll chair that one.
That wouldn't have come out on a copy. Those might be.
All right. So that's what that is, and then what we want to do is on the
This is yours.
2nd of March.
That's probably
Does that make
yours.
sense? March 2. I've got a date here, Garrett, is it, in this thing I'm reading March 2, which is a Monday?
Is there a select board meeting on that day?
I don't think so.
March
You know,
2nd is not a
Tuesday.
select board day.
That would be March 3rd, I
Well, I
would
was
think.
wondering maybe if it was like a specially scheduled one or something
I
like
don't know
that.
that.
Because I was given the schedule from the town manager.
Okay.
Then it does say March the 2nd.
Yeah, on that one, yes.
Yeah,
But
this one.
I can double check just to be sure.
Okay.
Because my assumption was that they had some kind of special meeting.
I have March 3rd, the
Just for this?
select board.
Yeah,
That's what it is, okay.
because there are certain like timing considerations that we have to take into account.
Yeah.
Just as like getting it before the select board at the right time and then also kind of finagling in the notification requirements for public hearings as well. So I can double check with the town manager on that one, but I believe it was made in consideration of those timing requirements.
So there's going to be a meeting of the planning board on February 24th.
Yes,
And what's the purpose of the meeting?
we have two applications.
Okay, so it'll be a regular meeting.
Exactly.
Okay.
Probably have a workshop ahead of it as well.
Yep.
For ordinances, just to wrap that up. So I would plan on 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
You want to do that, David? Yeah. You'll have that one.
What's the date again?
The 24th, the 5.
Because basically,
you know, the
we've
town
been
manager
on the
was
roads
really
enough.
good about
We're
getting
gonna let him
things
make his changes, and we'll address it
in a
at
timely
5 o'clock
fashion.
on the 24th.
Yeah,
The 24th on this one?
that's right.
Because
We do
just
that,
got so
and
much
there
to
are,
do.
of course, we
Okay,
have,
This is what we're gonna
we
do.
got to talk a little bit about format as well. For the other proposals that we have essentially using our templates. We have a description of the fire hydrant ordinance, we have a description of the nuisance fire alarm ordinance.
We're gonna be doing
Yeah.
this.
There we go, okay. And your marijuana one is gonna use, you're gonna use the comprehensive plan to help guide that, is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
Ultimately, okay. So we still have these two. I think actually that we have plenty of information using our name, problem, challenge, goal, resolution, and the likes to talk to the select board about those, just the way they are.
And I feel like we've made good progress on actually.
Yeah, it's simpler, it's much more straightforward.
Yeah.
Now, what's the
Versus,
date?
versus what's here, of course, is the actual language that we're talking about using. So that's a bit different, but it'll still work. We're just looking for a go-ahead to keep going.
Sure.
That's all it
When are
boils
we
down to.
doing this before with the select board?
For the select board right now, it's on the, what I'm seeing is on the 2nd, based on this document,
2nd of March?
2nd of March.
Well, I remember, let me just quickly check my calendar. This upcoming Tuesday, I know that what I was told was that someone from the planning board was going to basically bring those, like the thing that I gave you, Bob. That was whenever you were going to seek the select board's approval, I suppose, to.
Okay.
For the ordinances?
For the nuisance and the hydrant.
Oh, okay, that's all right.
Because we've been given approval for the road standards. We're
Yeah,
good
we
on
already
that
had
one.
that, so it's really just those two.
We just need the select board's explicit approval on the,
Stuff for the fire department.
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And that was on
And once we
the,
have that, we're good to work
Okay.
on the finished product.
yeah, and that was on the 20, lost the date here.
That select board meeting is on the 17th.
17th, that's it there, okay. All right, I will be here, so I can do that one. Yeah,
Select board.
good.
Okay, yeah, we got that.
What date was that one again?
The 17th, Paul,
This or
The
this one?
17th, yeah.
which is a select
The
board
select
meeting.
board meeting.
We gotta be there to go.
Would you make sure that we're on there?
Yes, I made sure with Michael. That's what that, the thing
And
is.
so we're just gonna talk about the fire alarm and the fire hydrant.
Yeah, and I made sure that the things I've given you, the who, what, when, where, why.
Those are fine.
That, the select board has that.
Okay,
So
good. They have it already.
Yes,
Okay.
and it'll be on their agenda. So
All right, excellent.
that will get done.
Okay.
We're talking about the agenda for the select board of the
Oh, yeah.
17th.
On the
Yes.
17th, yeah.
Okay, so there's no, on the agenda that's been set out for the select board of the 17th, those things are not referenced for those two ordinances.
And when was it posted?
I think it was posted today.
Okay, I believe it's under there, there's a section for, it's either ordinance discussion or,
It's on there.
is it?
Well, there's an ordinance review process.
That is where this will be discussed.
I think it's
I don't-
intended to be more than just that, but
I don't make the select board.
So we gotta close the workshop and open up the meeting?
Gonna move on to the meeting. Is there any other thing we need to wrap up quickly? I know we're late for this, but we have a very limited agenda anyway, so. Yes.
Can I make a suggestion? I was listening to you going back and forth about consolidating the ordinances and that Garrett is able to do that. And instead of waiting for the new town manager, because I think he's going to be swamped, starting off, would it be possible for one of you to go to Michael and just explain the situation, and maybe he could give the go-ahead to Garrett, and then he could get this stuff done when he has time?
I'll put it this way, we have some changes that have been made that haven't been entered. We have proposed changes that may or may not go in. So you'd have to do first round, the changes you've already done, then probably go back
last
later
year.
and do a second.
Yeah.
As long as we understand that, that's,
But you've got a couple of years worth of stuff to.
I'm more than willing to
It would take a
go
while
to
to
Michael
sit through it,
again.
I just think I think Michael would be receptive to that, and I
Okay.
think the new guy, whatever that man or woman, it's gonna be tough.
I can bring it to the forefront again. I'll go talk to him, that's
hopefully
fine.
we'll get someone who'll stay long enough to develop a little
Is that okay with
institutional
you?
memory and.
I'm fine, as long as someone, if one of my bosses, either as the CEO or the town manager, probably town manager in this regard, gives me the direction to do it, I will do it.
Yeah.
That decision is above your pay scale.
Exactly.
And actually covered
I'm not messing
everything, we
with
really
laws.
need a formal.
You don't need
Which
it.
one are you talking about now?
Well, I mean, we covered just about everything in our workshop.
Yes, we
We
did.
haven't had a full
Well,
meeting,
the
there's
formal
nothing
meeting-
on the agenda, so maybe we can make a motion to
Yeah.
not have a meeting. Unless you feel there's something that needs to be voted on.
I don't think there's much of anything there, so.
Who knows?
So we meet again on
Coming over here.
the 24th and 5 o'clock and do the changes and go.
So do we really need to open the meeting at all for the select board?
If you have it, I mean, I suppose you could open the meeting to motion to adjourn. But if you guys have any motions that you think you need to make.
No, I don't believe there's
I don't
any.
Do we have to
We
okay the
approve
minutes?
Oh, yes, if you wanted to approve the minutes.
Say again?
If you wanted to approve the minutes.
Minutes, that's it.
Oh, yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so this will be a very short meeting.
It's a tough minute. These are very complicated minutes.
Hang on, I gotta shift gears
This
real
whole meeting
fast.
was pretty much all workshops, so the actual meeting minutes.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to close the workshop.
Second.
Yes,
Second it.
very good. All in agreement? Okay. Give me a second.
Now we're gonna make a motion to open the meeting.
Yeah, I'm just gonna make a motion to open the meeting. That's right.
I'll
that's
second
all.
it.
And we'll go from there.
We can do the pledge of allegiance.
Let's do a pledge of allegiance. We'll do that.
United States of America,
Of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we don't have any minutes to review at this point.
it was a tough read.
Yep. So, or do we? Let's see.
Well, this is the minutes.
We can do anything.
January 27th. Make a
I
motion.
make a motion that we accept the minutes from January 13th meeting.
Yep,
I'll second that.
second that. All in favor? Okay. Any other business?
I should just note on the record that all are present except David McCarthy.
Yeah. Great.
Well, I don't know, we pretty much covered everything.
That's it. We've covered next meeting, when that's going to happen.
Meet
so-
up the 24th at 5 o'clock and go over the changes.
I make a,
Wait, get something?
no, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn the
All
meeting.
right, I'll say it.
All in favor?
Amen. Amen.